When I was accepted at graduate school at UCLA, I had a family member who recommended recovery to me because of all the things that helped him through some very difficult and trying times in his life. Recovery was one of them. Mental health professionals were failing him, psychotropic medications were failing him, and he wanted to let me know about a mental health tool that he found to be really effective. And I expected that I would learn all about Recovery International in graduate school because, of course, we learn about everything, right? As it turned out, there was nothing about Recovery International when I was in graduate school. Later on, after I graduated and I started working out in the mental health field, I was working at the San Diego County Psychiatric Hospital as a treatment coordinator, and I discovered we had Recovery International meetings going on in the building where we had the hospital here. So I went to a Recovery International meeting, and there was something very familiar about what was going on, but it seemed different. The terminology was a little bit different. It seemed to really help the people that were there at that meeting. And I continued to attend meetings. I continued to bring patients to those meetings, patients who their only other option for groups were like recovery, or Alcoholics Anonymous, or Narcotics Anonymous, and they were not into the 12-step method at all. And I thought, well, this would be a different group that they might be interested in. And they seem to really appreciate and get a lot out of the Recovery International meetings. And along the way, I learned more about the recovery method, learned the recovery method myself, and actually later on became a leader, trained leader in recovery. I took over the anger management group for the Wounded Warrior Battalion at Camp Pendleton Naval Hospital. And in the model that we used was a SAMHSA anger management model issue that had in it a chapter that was very, very similar to what recovery did. So we would do the regular SAMHSA anger management lesson, and then the rest of the group, the rest of the time in the group, we did the Recovery International model. And they really seemed to get a lot more out of the group as a result of that interaction that they had with being able to personalize and talk about things that worked them up. And we didn't talk about traumas, we didn't talk about major mental health issues, we just talked about the trivialities, the symptoms, and this all followed the basic cognitive behavioral approach that we learned, in school. But in addition, it had some other components that the cognitive behavioral therapy that we learned didn't have, which is to self-endorse, to help reinforce what they were, changes that they were making. And I think one of the problems with introducing recovery to mainstream professionals is it's been consumer run for 80 years. And so systemically they had excluded professionals. So that's why most professionals don't know about recovery, don't know how effective it is, don't realize it may be actually better than what we're currently learning in school about cognitive behavioral therapy. And if they knew this, would, I think, embrace it, because the bottom line is we're going to help the patient. And whatever works for the patient best is what we shoot for as far as best practices are concerned. So I think recovery is a better method than cognitive behavioral therapy. I highly endorse it, and I'm working towards introducing professionals to the Recovery International method. Personally, it's benefited me because it's helped me to focus on my points of distress. And the tools have really not only helped reinforce that and have restructured some of my thoughts about my emotions and things that upset me, But it also enlightened me to, when I look back at all the difficult things that I had to work through in my life, that being able to maintain those secure and realistic thoughts and not focus on those fearful thoughts. I had a choice. I could choose what I wanted to think about. I can't not have thoughts, but I can choose to give greater weight to more constructive thoughts, more positive thoughts, and not dwell on those fearful thoughts. 99% of those fearful thoughts never come true. And so they would just drain me when I would think about those. And it would impact my ability to sleep, because at night I'm trying to sleep and I'm having all these racing thoughts, all these fearful thoughts, and I wouldn't be able to sleep. And if I distracted myself with that, focused more on secure, realistic thoughts, I was able to get better sleep, and as a result, better mental health as a result of it. Also, as a clinician, in helping bring this to my patients, it's helped them, which professionally has helped me, because my patients are doing better, I'm doing better. Stress is a part of life. And when we address it directly and talk about what our reactions to that stress are, and that includes our emotional, our physical, our thoughts, our images, we bring that out. In that process alone, where it empowers us to transform the stress into more positive, constructive directions in life. And this is really the key to reprocessing the stress and reprocessing trauma. And so the sooner that we do that, starting with just trivialities, the small points of distress, the sooner we can get our life back on track again. So it doesn't have to develop into mental illness. It doesn't have to develop into trauma. Stress can be traumatic, but it doesn't have to become traumatic.